Greetings chess fans, my name is Arturs Neiksans, I'm the leading Latvian chess grandmaster, and in this video I will make a recap what happened in the third game of the World Championship match, Liren against Dommaraju Gukesh. So this was the third game. In the first two games, the world champion Liren had scored 1.5 points. So today, Gukesh was looking for opportunities to equalize the score with the match and try to win with the white color. Did he succeed? Let's check out the game. So unlike the very first game of the match where Gukesh opened up with e4, here Gukesh decided to play d4, which maybe is surprise to somebody, but again, this is the modern trend of the World Championship matches that players are preparing a lot of continuations and they're not really sticking to one opening and they're playing some sidelines that the other side probably did not expect. So d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, c4, e6. So up to this moment, this is obviously huge theory here. So white can play knight c3, leading to I don't know what here Ding had prepared, possibly bishop b4. Also the Catalan has a very good reputation. So first surprise here by the Indian superstar, he decided to play c takes on d5. Now this move is supposed to be not dangerous. Why? Because essentially he traced the c-pawn for the e-pawn and black wants to get the ideal call-spot position with c6 and bishop f5. So Gukesh played knight c3, now here Ding proceeded with the plan to play c6. So he wants to play bishop f5, bishop d6 and have a healthy position. So that's why here Gukesh's next move is quite understandable. He plays queen c2 and tries to play against this bishop on c8. The next move by the world champion is also pretty understandable. So g6, black insists on putting the bishop on f5. So here, another interesting move by Gukesh, h3. I suppose the idea at some point was to consider bishop f4 and e3 so that the bishop can also escape to h2, but also the unique properties of the pawn on h3 is that as soon as black is going to land the bishop on f5, white is going to move the queen and then start harass the black bishop with the move g4. So here Ding play bishop f5, all of this makes perfect sense, so there's not really a lot of things to discuss. So we are about to see a lot of action in a couple of moves. Queen b3, hit a pawn on b7, followed by queen b6. Now, naturally, white is not interested to take on b6, because if this happens, black opens up the a file, and black is usually thinking about continuing with the follow-up, b5, b4, try to harass the knight on c3, also knight e7, knight b6, it just gives black two pleasant game. So that's why here Gukesh played g4, which was still the prep. Now queen b3 happens, a takes on b3, and now the first major decision for the world champion to make. Again, now you see, at least from the opening part, Gukesh had already half an hour advantage. So here, Ding essentially had to make a choice. Does he want to play bishop c2, essentially in the opening prep of his opponent, or accept that he is going to be slightly worse, but maybe solid, and play bishop e6? So it's really tough to judge black here. For example, bishop e6 might feel the solid choice, but then again, white plays bishop f4, e3, knight e5, and just enjoys some space advantage. While these double pawns at the queen side, well, I don't think they're really weaknesses because black is in no position to exploit it. So Ding decided to accept the challenge and he played bishop c2. Now the pawn on b3 seemingly under attack. Here comes bishop f4, which was again part of the prep. So the big idea here is revealed that if black at some point decides to take on b3, white plays knight e2. And this leads to some fascinating lines, because if you play bishop on c2, now after rook c1 the bishop is in trouble because you play bishop e4, f3, checkmate to the bishop. So if instead here, if black would decide to save the bishop by playing bishop c4, white can just take it and play e3, hitting the pawn on c4. So if white will be able to get the pawn on c4 with the bishop pair and the strong center, there's no argument that white is better. Also, b5 enables some tactical ideas like knight b5 and bishop g2, and the rook on e8 is under attack. Same applies also for black, including knight e5. Instead of taking on c4, white can unexpectedly take on d5, play bishop g2, and the pawn on d5 is lost. So that's why here Ding did not take the pawn on b3, and he played h5, a very brave move, clearly provoking his opponent to play very sharp. So his idea was to force the pawn to go forward so that he keeps up opportunity at some point to escape with the bishop. So here Gukesh's choice was understandable. So he played rook g1, and he was still hunting the bishop on c2 because, again, rook c1, bishop b3, knight e2 always might be a thing. So what happened here, the trade was included, h takes, knight e7. Now here apparently Gukesh was not really sure about the immediate rook c1, because after rook c1, black might capture on b3, knight e2, bishop c4, knight c4, d takes on c4, and it's not quite the same because you still need time to take on c4. Black can also include knight b6 to protect the pawn. Let's say e3 also could be opportunities like rook h4, target the pawn here. You play something like g5 and knight h5 or knight e5. It's not really so clear. So Gukesh was definitely looking at this rook c1, and instead he decided to play knight e2 first, which also makes a perfect sense because now he protects the pawn on b3 and he wants to go after the bishop with rook c1. So what happened here is that black is threatened that the bishop on c2 will be trapped, and he played rook g8, which again makes perfect sense because he wants to play g5 and escape with the bishop. Now in this moment Gukesh spent some time and he played this move g5, which according to engines is a mistake. So instead here Gukesh had to pick up an idea to go after the bishop, so he can play immediately rook c1, hitting the bishop. Again, bishop e4, f3, the bishop is trapped. Black has to go g5 and now retreat with the bishop to e3. So the point is, if black plays bishop h7 here after knight f3, suddenly it's not so easy for black to defend the pawn on g5. So most likely here the world champion would have to play bishop e4, and after bishop e4 the best line for white is knight takes, and play f3, hit the knight. If knight c3, b takes on c3, even with the naked eye you can sense that white is better because of the bishop pair and a chance to grab the center. And after knight e to f6, I'm pretty sure that Gukesh saw this position and he was not sure if it's enough. Yeah, so maybe he could remove the bishop, play e3, bishop d3, bishop f5, but at the same time black is very solid. So instead, the young Indian gambled. He played g5, attacking the knight on f6, and his idea was that he's about to play bishop h2, still try to trap the bishop with moves like rook c1, and somehow combine it with d4 ideas. But apparently, this entire idea is flawed, at least according to an engine, because after rook h8, which was the best move here, f3 was played by Gukesh, knight g7, important intermezzo move for black, hitting the bishop on h2, bishop g3, we reached a very critical moment of the game. But again, please pay attention to the time situation on the clock, because Gukesh essentially had 1 hour and 23 minutes versus 31. Almost an hour advantage on the clock, and the position is still very complex. And at this moment, Liren made a pretty serious mistake. He played rook h5, which I believe is based on miscalculation, because he saw a very long and complex variation and he missed one move at the very end. Now instead here the correct move was to play bishop e7, hit a pawn on g5, and here let's say Gukesh will play bishop f2, protecting the pawn, bishop f5, e4, and black can just play bishop e6 and have a very solid position. So probably the key idea here is that after e takes on d5, bishop b5, knight e5, c takes on d5, black is just incredibly solid, puts the knight on e6 and essentially has no problems. So up to this moment, I was starting to feel really skeptical about Gukesh's chances because it essentially felt like a deja vu from the first round game where Gukesh entered himself a computer-like position where he has to pick up a lot of non-obvious moves, while for Ding, he have to just make normal improving moves. And yet, it was the world champion who faltered. So he played rook h5, allowing white to trap the bishop. So here, Gukesh played e4. So the sequence is rook c1, the bishop is trapped. Now, d takes on e4 was included by Ding. Well, apparently, knight e6 was a bit more accurate move, so there's going to be a very important nuance. The point is, after rook c1, in some lines, black can play knight takes on d4, and after bishop f2, for example, a bishop g7. Now, if white plays knight e2 here, there is this knight takes on f3 check, knight takes on f3, and bishop e4. And black has 3 pawns for the sacrificed piece. And by the way, the position is pretty healthy, and basically black has nothing really to worry about. This is not the strongest sequence for white, so white would still keep some advantage. After knight takes on d4, bishop f2, bishop g7, so white can play according to an engine, a simple quiet move, rook g2, and bishop takes on d4 threat with rook takes on c2 is seemingly going nowhere, and black is ending up in a worse position. So what happened instead didn't include his d takes on e4, probably a move he would regret later because now he has less options. So he played knight e6, rook c1, knight takes on d4, bishop f2, and here he realized that bishop g7 simply loses due to knight e2. That's a move he missed from afar, because I think he saw this position that after bishop takes on d4, bishop takes on d4, so he is just fine, the rook on g1 is under attack, and white seemingly cannot make an immediate progress, and yeah, this knight e2 somehow just evaded his attention. Also, there was a choice for black to play bishop c5, but now there's a different kind of problem, so white has a stronger move, knight a4. So black cannot keep the Doxford bishop on this diagonal, and this means black is losing a piece. So this happened very quickly, and suddenly, just like that, knight e2, Gukesh was up a piece. By the way, notice knight f3 is almost a mate, but when you fork a knight, well, the other knight can just take it. So knight x on b3 was played by Ding, and he was attempting to set up some kind of a fortress. So after the smoke had cleared, black had 2 pawns for the lost piece, and white still needs to find a way to figure this out. So Gukesh played knight e4, rook d8, and king e2. That's a move I really like. And there was a very, very important moment right here. Now, when I was watching the live broadcast, I was thinking that I would probably play knight f3, with the idea that when you are having a clearly better position, you're looking for ways to simplify things. So the point is, after knight takes on f3, king takes on f3, it seems that white is simplifying the position. But actually, it's not so simple, because black can take on f2, king takes on f2, bishop d4 check, which is going to be a pretty important resource of this endgame, and now black can activate the rook d4, put the rook on b4, king e3, and let's say king e7, king goes here, and for example a5. So when you look at this position, I think that the gut feeling should tell that white should be winning, but if you ask me, how? And you know, actually, it's not really so simple, so I'm thinking there's definitely gotta be a way to put the bishop on c4, go rook h2, rook h7, hit the pawn on f7. But either way, Gukesh, I'm sure he saw that this sequence most likely is winning, but instead he decided not to risk. So when you think you are winning, you're trying to eliminate any continuations when there's even a slightless chance that you are missing the victory. So instead, he postponed the decision to play knight f3 and decided to improve his position and make sure that at the end of this line, black cannot play rook d4, rook b4. That's why he started with bishop g2, he started with b3. Ding essentially cannot do anything, because if he tries to go aggressive with something like knight g4, hitting the bishop on f2, the knight on d4, there's always knight f3, the bishop goes somewhere to c5 and d6, the knight on g4 does nothing, and black has nothing. Black has nothing here. So that's why Ding decided to just stand and do nothing, but he was burning time with every single move he was attempting to do so. And here Gukesh just improved the position. He played rook d1, king e8, and now he played bishop g3. It's time to simplify. He got rid of the rook on h2, rook h5, and now knight f3. This was a very beautiful sequence. The point is that after knight takes on f3, king takes on f3, black cannot really take on g5 because this rook is going to be disconnected from the game. So for example, you could just take it, rook d1 check, activate the bishop, like, I don't know where you put a king e8 might run into a checkmate, bishop h4, rook d8. So let's say white would decide to go here, bishop h3, f5 has to go forward, and this position most likely is just easy, technically winning two bishops with the rook, and these are easy targets for white's let's go bishop. Either way, Ding already was in a serious time scramble, so he had no time to think about these things. You see, he had 1 minute and 43 seconds left for the remaining 6 moves. He played bishop d4, rook h1, only to realize that after rook takes on g5 here, there's a very powerful bishop h3, and black basically has no move. Rook d8 is bishop h4, there's no rook d6, and the bishop on d4 is hanging. What happened here, he played f5, and after bishop before rook h5, there was a resignation because he had only 5 seconds for the remaining 4 moves, but bishop takes on f5 would finish the game on this spot. So the point is g takes just drops the rook on h5, and after rook takes on h1, bishop takes on d7 is a very important intermezzo move. So what happened? Rook h5, here Ding resigned. So overall, a very impressive victory by Gukesh, and this means that now the score in the match is tied 1.5 points each. So to be honest, at the very beginning I was not impressed what was happening in the opening phase. I mean, this entire idea felt to me very logical, and I felt that the logical follow-up would have been rook c1, this sequence entering bishop e4, knight e4, etc. This sequence after g5, bishop e3, where white had a slightly better position, but maybe black was holding on. So with g5, I felt that Ding was essentially doing better, and his body language was telling that he is feeling comfortable, and yet something happened here. Again, look at this. So he had about 52 minutes. He started to burn a lot of time about here. So he spent a great deal of time for this knight g7, which was a very easy move. 18 minutes for such a simple move, followed by rook h5, immediate mistake. And yeah, it's really a strange sequence. So again, he missed this knight e2. He entered a sharp variation, and essentially he was outcalculated by Gukesh. So tomorrow there is a rest day, so the players can prep for the 4th game, starting this World Championship match. Finally, there is a change in the schedule. The players are playing 3 games, then there's a rest day, and there's another 3 games. So Ding will be looking for opportunities once again to take the lead with a white color in game 4. In the meantime, dear viewers, write your thoughts. What do you think? What do you think about this game? Do you think that Gukesh was risking to lose this game at some point if Ding had found the proper way to rearrange his pieces, or you still support that g5 was the right choice? And also, what do you feel? How the momentum of the match has changed? Is Gukesh now once again becoming the favorite, or you believe in the world champion's chances to keep the title? Of course, if you liked the video, please do not forget to press like and subscribe to my channel, because this is going to allow me to produce more content, and of course I'll be making daily recaps for the World Championship match. Thank you for watching. I'm signing off.